This is my take on A Midsummer Night's Dream. First, my analysis of the plot and the script. In my reading of A Midsummer Night's Dream, I chose Oberon to be the protagonist. And with that in mind, I had to choose Puck as being the antagonist because when I read through this, I thought Oberon's main goal would be not only to get the child, which is one of his goals, but it was basically to put everything back to its original state, everything back to normal. And Puck was the only one who really prohibited him from doing that. Act 2, Scene 1 was the scene where Oberon was arguing with Titania about the child that Titania had stolen, and then proceeded afterwards to talk to Puck about his plan to gain the child and also, in turn, restoring his marriage to its previous state. This is when Oberon's plan starts to fall into place. However, Puck accidentally puts Cupid's flower on Lysander instead of Demetrius, mistaking him for Oberon told him that he should put the Cupid's flower on the Athenian man in the woods. This is when everything falls into place. Oberon and Puck get the 4 Athenian youths to fall asleep in the same area of the woods so that they can put Cupid's flower on each of them so that they wake up. They can fall in love with the right people, Demetrius with Helena, Lysander with Hermia. And Oberon also gets rid of the potion on Titania so that their marriage can be restored. Everything back to its original state, just as Oberon's goal was. I would put the intermission between Acts 2 and 3 because I have the climax at Act 2, Scene 2, and if I put the intermission right after that, it's kind of at a suspenseful place. It keeps people wondering what's going to happen next if they haven't already read this play, so that seems like a good place for me to. And now to move on to my concept of the play. I read the theme as, if we make a mistake, we can fix it. The reason I read this is because we run into the problem that Puck made a mistake of putting the Cupid's flower on the wrong person, and everything went awry. People started loving the wrong people, people got offended, all of this stuff happened. But eventually it ended up being fixed, and we can apply that to our lives now. That if we make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, it can be fixed. I like the idea of keeping the setting in ancient Greece and the same time period, same time of the year, midsummer, at nighttime. But I like the idea of keeping it in ancient times because it keeps the true meaning of the play intact. Will I do double casting? No! The reasoning for that is more of a personal preference because with double casting, I like to have the idea that you can have a connection with each individual character played by different actors. And when you have double casting, you can't really keep that relationship with the characters if you know they're played by the same actors. You connect those two characters when they're not always connected. So to keep the relationship between audience member and character, I would like to have separate actors do separate parts. For Bottom's head, I like the simple idea of just putting a little goofy costume donkey head on the actor. For set design, I decided to have the play set in the black box because I feel like this is one of those plays that you should be up close and personal with it. You should feel like you're a part of the action. And with the entrances and exits, as you can see, I put 5 exits and entrances. 2 of them were in the audience, and I like that idea because most of this play is set in the woods, so it gives the idea that you're going every which direction. You don't know where you're going per se, and you don't know where you're going to go next. So the idea that you have 5 different entrances for the woods kind of gives that feel that you don't know where you're going next and you don't know where you're going, period. For special effects, the only real time I could think of was if you could dim the lights maybe a little on the Puck and Oberon putting the Cupid flowers on the people's eyes. It kind of gives that mystical, magical feel to it. But that's the only real time I could find for special effects. I like the idea, since we're in ancient Greece time, to have the royalty to have robes with a touch of purple to show that they're royalty. Maybe Greek garments with a little bit of purple, and the youth having very similar clothing, except not as fancy, not the purple really, but really the same robes and garments. But I would like them to have undergarments also, because considering we know that in the future they will be out in the woods traveling, they'll have something else instead of those robes, if you know what I mean. And then the fairies, I like to keep it simple on that, just kind of leaving clothing to show they're one with nature kind of spirit. For the color palette, I like the more earthy colors, the greens, the browns, and then maybe towards the end of the play, when the Athenian youth start waking up, the more reds, yellows, and orange for like the sunrise and everything to show a new beginning. And the sound effects I chose for major plot points. For the pre and post show music, I kind of chose piccolo and flute music. I don't really know specific examples, but kind of songs that have those instruments, because that's upbeat, kind of happy tunes, and it kind of fits the time scheme. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.